All right, welcome to our number 2 webinar on MDF, on money, on spending other people's money. Excited to talk to you guys today more about MDF. A lot of you, this is your second session with us. We did our first one, about a month ago. It's a 3-part series. First one kind of diving into what is MDF, market development funds. Had a great panel on that. This one we're very stoked about because we've got some of your peers on here. Some MSP CEOs, business owners, thought leaders on here to talk about how they have used MDF. And man, do they have some great ideas. Our goal today is that you leave with like a page full of notes. Robin likes to call it like a swipe file, like things that like you hear ideas that other people have done, successes that other people have done, roadmaps that they've given you. You put it in your swipe file for in the future when you want to do. So I hope you leave with a jam-packed swipe folder today, swipe file that you can, go to in the future to grab ideas about how you can use market development funds or MDF in order to fund your marketing. So real quick, my name is Allison Felber. For those of you who are not on here and may not know me, I'm the VP of Big Red Media. Big Red Media is a subsidiary of TMT. We put things out like MSP Success Magazine. We have mspsuccessmagazine.com, putting out a lot of content out there for you, for the MSP industry, for our community, for our tribe, to keep you updated on what's new in the industry, trends that are coming up, what you should know about. And so today, like I said, we're talking about market development funds. And I'm personally very passionate about market development funds. I've been in the IT industry for over 10 years now. I started out working as a director of marketing at a MSP in Southern California, a high growth MSP over there. And I utilized MDF. And so I've been in your shoes, trying to figure out, okay, what is this money that's out there? How do I use it? What can I use it for? How do I get access to it? So I've been there trying to navigate all those sometimes complicated systems, sometimes similar. As we learned in our last session, every vendor's got a slightly different program. But now continuing into working at TMT, I've been here for about 7 years and continually seeing money being an issue. I almost said an excuse. We'll say excuse/issue, but oftentimes money being the reason why a lot of MSPs are not investing more into marketing. And so I don't want that to be an issue, and it really shouldn't be an issue, because you do have sponsors and vendors out there who have these buckets of money that they want to be able to give you to help you market, to help you grow your business, which in turn helps them. So we're going to get into a little bit more about MDF. I'll bring our panelists on. I'll introduce them. But before we get going, I've got Tanya Gentry on the webinar with me too. Again, if this is your second session with us, you spent more time with her in the first one. She works a ton. That is like 1,000% of her job is working with our vendors and working with our sponsors on kind of what their programs are, how can they work better with you as MSPs, what are some ways that they can engage with you differently. And so that's why she kind of took that first one, really talking to our sponsors and to our vendors about the different programs that are out there. So Tanya's going to be managing the Q&A today and the chat. She'll be, chatting away with you guys there. Go ahead. We love to hear from you, throughout the session that we go through today. So type any comments, any feedback. I'm sure, we had over 500 people registered for this webinar. And so I'm sure as we get going with our panelists today, you'll have ideas that you want to contribute. I welcome them. I want you to put your ideas and things that you've done, in the past into the chats, that we as a community can kind of benefit from what everyone else has done. So any comments, put them in there. Any questions, please put them into the Q&A box. We had a ton of engagement last time over in the chat, and I want to make sure that those questions get pulled out so that we can make sure that we answer them. And so putting them into the Q&A helps Tanya kind of organize them and make sure that our panelists, myself or Tanya, is able to get an answer to your question. We are recording this. I feel like I shouldn't even have to say that anymore after, my 10 years of doing webinars, but everyone always asks, are you recording this? Yes, we're recording it. You'll get access to it. If this is your first time with us, if you missed the first session, you get access to the recording too, and you're registered for our 3-part series. So if we'll get you the link for that, you've already probably have it, but you'll be able to watch that first session. And then of course, the second session, and you're registered for our 3rd. So I'm going to dive in. Before I get going, Tanya, before I jump into kind of what we're going to be talking about today, anything that you want to kind of bring up, any announcements, any aha moments that came in between, this one and our last session that we did, a couple weeks ago?
No, I'm just super excited to be here. We've got a great group that is going to give us so much insight to what they do, and we're really excited. We've had some wonderful ideas and points that we got from the 3 vendors that were on with us before, and just super excited to hear from our MSPs.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so to start us out, I just want to remind you guys that free money for marketing is out there and it's waiting for you to spend it. That's what we dove into on the last session with our sponsors who are on there, where they were saying, hey guys, we've got money for you. We've got these buckets of money. Here's some ways to utilize it. Like, we have marketing dollars for you, and we've set aside a certain amount every single year that is waiting for you to spend it. And today, what we're going to stay focused on how you can use it. So like I said, we've got a great panel of your peers on here today to talk about ways they've used it, ways that they've seen other people use it. But we're going to be talking about proven, we've got people who have used it, and creative ways to use those marketing dollars from your vendors to get leads and new sales. And so this 3-part webinar series, we're talking obviously about MDF, market development funds. If you're like, what the heck is MDF? You're throwing another acronym at me, like in this industry that's filled with acronyms. Go back and watch the first one. We really dive into it. We're going to talk about why people aren't using it today, really focusing the bulk of our time on case studies, on examples, on ideas. Again, let's add to your swipe file. And in our final session in about a month, we're going to actually walk through step by step how to get that money. How do you put a plan together? How do you work with your vendors? That will be like action steps. Like I said, today, I hope you leave with like a page full of ideas. Next session, I hope you leave with a page full of step-by-step action items of what you can do to get your share of this money that's out there. So I want to do a quick introduction of our panelists for today. I'm so excited for our panelists. They are each personal friends of mine. I've known them for a while. And so when we were putting together, Tanya and I were talking about, who should we have on our panel? I was just so excited to have the 3 of them on here today. So we'll get back to them in just a second here, but we've got Matt Disher from Southwest Networks over in Southern California, Sunny Palm Springs, expanding out into a couple different markets is what I've heard. So maybe we'll touch on that a little bit. We've got Wayne Hunter, who's actually joining us from across the pond over in London today. I didn't ask him what time it was, but it doesn't matter because he's on vacation, but he will be sipping a pint throughout our session today, talking about MDF. Power to him. And then, of course, Brandis Kelly, who I'm sure many of you are familiar with or know, because Brandis, you are such a thought leader in our industry, and we have you on a lot to talk about your experience and your knowledge. You're a coach with us. You just provide invaluable expertise, to the industry. So I'm sure many of you are familiar with all or some of these. Like I said, they are, thought leaders are in our industry, and we're going to circle back around with them in a few minutes here after I get through and kind of a little bit more about MDF and why I want to get you guys in the right kind of mental space, the right framework as we go into thinking about some of these case studies. But in advance, thank you, panelists, for being here, and we're going to get right back to you. But first, just a reminder, MDF, it is money that is out there from your sponsors, from your vendors, that they put aside in order for you to spend on marketing. Because, think about it like this, many of your vendors are only, they are 100% channel sales. So they truly rely on you, in the channel to do 100% of the selling, 100%, of the marketing. And so if the more that you can market, the more leads you can generate, the more sales that you can generate, they win as well. It truly is a partner. I feel like partner is a word and a term that is overrated, but like that's what it is. And that's how your vendors and your sponsors view you. I hope that's how you, view them as well, is this partnership. And so they are willing and ready and excited and waiting to spend money with you on marketing in order to generate those leads and to generate those sales. And unfortunately, there is a lot of it that goes unused. And we talked about that in our last session. Why does it go unused? How can you work with your sponsors? But really, I feel like there's three reasons why us as MSPs are not using MDF. And the first reason is you don't know about it. So I didn't even know there's another acronym. I didn't even know there were market development funds. I didn't even know that my sponsors and vendors had these piles of money that they were waiting to work with me on spending on marketing. I didn't know about it. Hopefully we, introduced you to it on our last session and you're not in that bucket anymore. You can't use, I didn't know, I was naive, I didn't know. You can't use that excuse anymore. It's there. The money is there. There's money out there waiting for you to spend it. The second reason why a lot of MSPs are not using MDF is you know about it, but you don't know how to get it. And so you don't know what to use it for. You don't know what types of things it can be spent on. And so today that's what we're going to be diving into, with your peers, or what are some things that you can use it for. And then finally, why MSPs aren't using it, you know about it. You know some things that you can, use it for, but you don't have the time or resources to get it. I've got something at the end, a free resource for you guys from MSP Success Magazine that will eliminate that last bullet there. And so really, truly, with this 3-part webinar series, we're going to be able to cross every single one of those out for you. You know what it is. We're going to show you some things you can use it for and how to get it. And then we're going to actually give you our MDF guide, which is a library listing of vendors, their MDF programs, what you can use it for, how much is available, how to get it, to really make sure that you as an MSP don't have an excuse anymore for why you don't use MDF. And the sole purpose behind us doing this webinar series is we want you to be successful. Again, I started off at the beginning saying, a lot of the reasons why people say they can't do marketing, they can't grow their business is I don't have the money. Okay, well, that's not an excuse. That's not a reason anymore. It's out there because free money for marketing is out there waiting for you to spend it. And we're going to talk about tons of proven and creative ways to get new leads and new sales. So with that said, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can see our lovely panelists' faces. And I want to dive into asking them about their experiences, about their things that they've done, about ideas that they've had, maybe that they haven't been able to do yet, their success stories of things that they've done. Each of these 3 panelists is extremely involved in our community, and so they may have stories from other of their peers as well. So I think our first question, well, let me let you guys introduce yourselves a little bit more. I know I gave a very brief introduction, but I want to let you guys kind of tell the community a little bit about yourselves. So Matt, if you want to start us off, kind of tell us who you are, where you're at, if you're coming to boot camp or not, right? I hope everybody on this session is coming to boot camp. So if you're coming to boot camp, and just a little bit about your business.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me on here, Allison. It's good to see everybody. So a little bit about us. Yeah, we're in the Southern California, so the Palm Desert, Palm Springs area here in California. The company was initially founded by our owner, and then I came on shortly afterwards. I worked my way up from a technician to a VP of sales to the president of the company. We are 100% employee owned, so we're a little bit different in the MSP space. So I have all the frustrations of an owner without all the benefits of it. That being said, we've grown and done different things. In the old days when we first started, it was all word of mouth. I know my first interaction with Robin was she was helping me with a small little newspaper ad that we were trying to run, and she was giving me feedback. That was my very first call with Robin. And it was kind of funny thinking back to that. I am coming to boot camp. Very much looking forward to it. Going to celebrate my 50th, which is the week after boot camp, but we're going to do a little celebration while we're there. And yeah, very involved in the channel and stuff. I even run one of the service managers groups for TMT for the service managers.
Perfect. Thanks, Matt, and happy birthday, pre-birthday.
Thank you.
All right, Brandis Kelly from Digitex.
Hello, my name is Brandis Kelly. Yes, I'm the president of the Midwest division for Digitex, and we are actually based out of Colorado, but do business all over the place. Midwest-wise is Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas. We obviously work in Colorado, Wyoming, Florida, Hawaii now. Craziness. So we mainly are very strongly focused in compliance and security on that side. Also, obviously an MSP, but we originally started out as consulting. So we've transitioned pretty well over the last few years to get there. As far as my involvement for, in the channel and just with so many of you, I am a coach and I'm also a captain. And I will absolutely be at boot camp. Can't wait. I look forward to that every year. And I have it feels like 12 people coming with me. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Yay. Love it. Can't wait to see you too. And Wayne, our a broad panelist for the day.
Wayne Hunter, cheers. As she was saying, enjoying a pint here in London with the family. I've been running this business for about 19 years. We're based out in Allen, Texas, northern suburb of Dallas. I actually come from the enterprise space as a bar, and then about 6 years ago, started the MSP side based on customers asking us to do. It's basically co-managed IT, as we call it today, but back then it was kind of like guru for hire, pure consulting in that realm. Been with TMT and Robin now for 2 years as of January. Started in accelerators, and now I'm a certified captain in one of the producer club groups. Very much like everybody else, we built business on word of mouth and reputation. But once you get to a certain space, you have to really look how you start expanding your marketing. And how we expanded it, which is for tourists, is MDF. And we used it in a lot of creative ways. So I'm looking forward to the conversation today.
Perfect. Well, since you mentioned it, Wayne, I'm going to start with you and we're just going to jump right in. Give us some examples. What have you used MDF for? What are some ways that you've used other people's money to do some marketing?
Well, coming out of the enterprise space and working as a value-added reseller for years, is they've always had the MDF. And typically what we used MDF back in the older days. And yes, I'm the old gentleman, I believe, on the panelist here. Everybody's talking about 50. Let's talk 60. But I feel like I'm 50, so it's okay. We would look at, it was lunch and learns. It was doing CEO breakfasts. It was sponsoring that. And we'd engage it through the sales rep or the channel manager that was managing from that vendor. And we go off and get those monies. And typically what the money was they put their credit card out. I didn't have to process any money. But we've evolved now to where probably the thing I like to highlight the most, because you and Tanya is really taking care of me, is when we started doing the Big Red Media. And I went to all my vendors and I told them, look, I got this new concept on what I want to do in this webinar series process. And I laid out a whole document. Here's MDF funds. This is what it requires for you to get on it. And they get on it. Now, the biggest thing that people need to understand is, okay, how are they going to give you that money? What's the give back? That's always the question. What's the give back? Well, we've got a whole database. We can track it. We can show them who's attending. But also, I try to help them get the word out, is use the power of what we've got, like the postcards and stuff like that, and say, hey, I already got a discount on it. If you want to do it and say on your list, let's do it. And the vendors get creative. If you go out there and really paint a picture, I've got one that's starting here in about 3 weeks. Yeah, about 3 weeks. And this one vendor, besides giving the MDF to us, they're actually hiring a Gartner analyst to be on the first webinar with me in this. So if you really get involved and you really give a good story to what you're doing, but prove it, there's a lot of money. You can get it. And you should, because as one of the slides show, $25 to $35 million a year that's never used. They want to spend it. All you have to do is ask. Don't be afraid to.
Yeah, I don't remember who, and it may have been you, Wayne, on our first session that said, if you don't ask, you're not going to get it, right?
Do a thing, that's all they can do. But they want to spend the money. And who do you, one of the points is, who do you engage? I think a lot of people are like, I don't know who to talk to. Every vendor has a channel manager that you enter. That's where you start. But even outside the channel manager, the people that get paid commissions on deals, get them involved, get the sales reps involved, because then they really push it. Because if you're going to help them get the word out on their product or service, they will be your champion. So I think it's a two-headed piece. Not only the channel manager, they'll help you through the process, but the money, the sales rep. That's the two people I hit up.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I know we're talking, in our next session, how to get, but it's so hard to not like go there. Is like, what do you do to actually get the money? But it's, what a lot of what you're saying, sounds like, approaching them, asking them, having the conversation and learning and listening for what do they want to get out of it. Talking to the sales rep who makes money off of, commissions. Obviously they want higher sales volume, which is the same as what we want at the end of the day too. But like, what is it that they're really wanting and how can we partner together to accomplish that for them?
I think the biggest thing you got to remember in what you have to do as a process, you got to want to know how many people actually attend, whatever it is, lunchtime, whatever it is. And coming out of that, what's the follow-up? Where most people mess up in the very beginning. They go get the money, they get a great show, whatever it is, whatever they're doing, and then they don't follow up. And that's where that follow-up and educating, even if you don't close the deal, don't worry about not closing a deal, but the follow-up, what you're doing, how you're trying to promote it, you're getting the word out. They will give you more money because you did the follow-up. That's the piece that gets you more money in MDF. They may be like when I first, it's okay to say a vendor here, but when I first started with Datto, they'd give me $1,000 a quarter initially. Anybody that goes to Datto and asks them for money, they'll give you $1,000 a quarter. You prove what you're going to do with the follow through, they will give you more money the next time. All vendors are pretty much that way. It's proof that you're going to do your part. Just like we ask the vendors to do their part, we got to do our part. You do the follow up, you'll get more.
Yeah. And I know you mentioned you've used, money for a lot of, events. And then more recently, this webinar series that you've been doing. And I'm excited to hear you're getting this like paid Gartner specialist coming on here next. I'm sure because like you're saying, you've been doing these webinars regularly. You've proven you can get people on. You've proven you'll do the follow-up. And so now they're willing to invest in getting you this specialist. But can you talk a little bit more about this webinar series that you're doing and how you're getting it? I think fully funded. Am I right there?
Oh yeah, I'm totally funded on it. No money out of my pocket. It's actually paying for the Big Red Media platform. It pays for all our postcards we send out and the follow-up on the back end side. But the concept was we all have done webinars, and you do a webinar and there's 3 pieces you want to get done in the webinar. Do a little bit of education, educate the customer on what their requirements are. Start talking about requirements, how you do it. And the third thing, this is how I'm going to solve it, or this is how me and the partner I brought to it are going to solve that. And you got to get that done in about 45 minutes. Well, that's a mouthful, and we all done that. But sometimes you get these customers come back and says, well, this is great, but I'm still not real sure what's going on. So I took that idea and broke it out into 3 1-hour webinars. And if a webinar starts on a Thursday, on the first Thursday of the month, then I'm going to follow the next Thursday and the third Thursday. And the first one, we talk about industry and do education. The only way they know it's the vendor and me is just because the sponsorship's on the webpage. We don't talk about our companies, anything. The second one talks about how do you identify as a customer the requirements of what they need to do. And that's all we talk about. We don't talk about products, anything else. It's solely about them and how they can go identify. Then a third one, and all of these are building off each other. Now, me and the vendor that I brought this, we're going to talk about how we would go solve that for you. Not call us and we'll solve it, but how we would solve it for you if you call us, and doing it that way. So it gives them option and education. And from that, the very first one I did, I had several vendors on it. I knew there were vendors, and we didn't kick them off. We let them come on. And every one of those vendors that signed up have already started booking for those things. Called me, asked if we want to do it, and go off and do it for them. And so we set it up. There's a base cost for it. I built a whole MDF form just like vendors did, put it out there to them. And it comes out of that. They give us those funds. And then anything they want to add to it is gifts, whatever they fund, like the analysts, giveaways. But also if they want to do additional marketing on a list of their own, they pay for that too. They pay me, and I actually do it through you guys, where the postcards all that shipped out, and it's all very seamless in how it works. When I floated the idea, I was like, okay, I hope this will work. And I wasn't ready for how much feedback I was going to get signing up. So I still got, this will be the third one we're doing, and I've already got 4 more in the pipeline.
Wow.
After this next one, the whole year of Big Red Media is paid for, and all the markets paid for. And I've actually used some of the excess dollars to do other marketing that I'm doing every day, you know, in various campaigns. So it's been well received and works good. But out of all that said, be creative. Think of what everybody's done, all these different things. Think about how you want to do it and get your message out. Be creative, and it's unique to you. Vendors will buy it. They'll do it.
Yeah. So I want everybody to like pay attention to what he just said there. He's got sponsors lined up waiting to give him money to do webinars with him in the future. So once vendors and once sponsors started hearing about, hey, we've got this MSP in Texas who's doing these webinars with vendors, introducing our vendor solutions and getting us results, he's got a waiting list for sponsors to give him money to do these webinars with him. So, I mean, put that on your swipe file if you haven't yet. You know, think about that. It doesn't have to be in-person lunch and learns. It doesn't have to be, you know, an in-person breakfast. This is a webinar. So file that one away, please. So I'll come back to you, Wayne, but I want to bounce over Brandis. I know that you have used MDF very creatively, and you've got just like a marketing mindset. What are some ways that you have used MDF and some of the results that you've gotten from using other people's money?
So yeah, and a lot of things that Wayne said, I absolutely agree with. You know, go for the no. Always, you got to ask, or you're never going to get told no. You know, we have done obviously lunch and learns and webinars, yes. And while we do get a decent amount of people, I feel like alcohol brings more people in. So I'm serious. I mean, so happy hours are like, well, you crush it with the happy hour. Another really awesome way that we've used MDF is like Datto as an example. If you are wanting to target a specific group of your clients, or maybe a specific niche, or I say niche, you know, and you're trying to sell a solution, like let's say we're trying to sell a BCDR solution to a group of clients that don't currently have that in place, I would reach out to Datto, get money, have them pay for it, potentially even have somebody from Datto like hop on with me, and let's talk about this. Let's talk about this to a specific focused group of our clientele and sell the shit out of it. And that's exactly what happens, because now you have this expert that you're bringing in who can answer any possible question I might not be able to answer, but not even so in a technical, you know, way that people are going to be like, what, but just kind of, you know, dumbing it down to sell it for you. And that is incredibly impactful. And you can do that with a lot of different vendors and a lot of different solutions. And at the end of the day, that helps them. Anything that you can do to bring them more money because you're going to have more sales, 100%, they're going to be on board.
So similar to what Wayne is doing too, you know, so a lot of you on here may be thinking like, I don't want to do a webinar. I don't want to talk for 45 minutes. I don't want to talk for an hour. I can't put together a presentation. Like, I don't know what to say. I'm nervous. Like, I get that. But both Brandis and Wayne, you know, if you're listening, they haven't done the bulk of the presentation. They haven't done the bulk of the preparing the content and putting together what you're going to say and how are you going to pitch it and how are you going to get people engaged. Like, the vendors done all of that. The vendors done all of the work. Yeah. And so events, I think, are, even, you know, back in the day when I was at the MSP, that seemed to be kind of the easiest thing to get covered, to get MDF for. I think because it is so black and white, and even in our last webinar session, you know, with our sponsors, that came up a lot too, is like, okay, well, yeah, do a lunch and learn, or do a webinar, or do a happy hour. Like, events were something that was one of the easier things to get MDF for. Wayne, you hinted at a little bit, you were able to use MDF, to send out some postcards and to do some, non-event stuff, still kind of around your webinar, but also offering other options, to your sponsors of things you can do. Anything, Brandis, that you've done or that you've heard some of your peers do that's non-event? Like, I don't have the resource, I don't have the people, I don't have the energy to put on an event. Like, how can I still utilize MDF?
Well, again, if you're going to, we all know marketing costs money. Not only the labor involved in handwriting all the envelopes and getting the postage and getting it out or whatever you're doing, direct mail marketing, if you're going after a group of your clients and prospects to sell a particular service or solution, that you can absolutely use MDF for that. So a VoIP solution is great. I know Citricom is going to be on board. Allworks is going to be on board, because those are two I've used before. So there's a couple of names for you. Also, I already said Datto, they're all the time. You could send a direct mail campaign out for Bullfish and simulated fishing and employee education and try to get people signed up for that and utilize them. They have all the, I think it's like Powered Services Pro, I think is the site, but they have all of the marketing material you're going to need. They even have like templates that you could pull and just like white label it and send it out. It's like probably more than half the work is done for you. And you can get money to do that to cover all of your costs. You're not going to have to go buy a bunch of aspirin or whatever, or Band-Aid, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Anything, Brandis, other ways you've used it, other ways you've heard your peers use MDF, any other examples, that you want to share with the people on here today?
A brilliant example that I want to absolutely do, Whiskey Wednesday. Again, I'm back to alcohol. I'm sorry.
I'm seeing a theme here. I'm seeing a theme.
It works.
There's a reason why all of these people are personal friends of mine.
Yeah. Yeah. So Whiskey Wednesday. And here's the best part. This company actually, because so in Texas, and you got to check your state law. I'm not going to sit on a recorded message and tell you everybody can do this, because you kind of can't. I don't think, but in Texas you can. If you check your state laws, like they even get the alcohol provided. They get the alcohol provided by the distributor or by the liquor store at the local liquor store. They also have had, they do this once a month. They also have had, like if somebody is coming out with a new whiskey or whatever, or, Conor McGregor has like a scotch, right? So and it wasn't Conor McGregor, but let's pretend that they just call up Conor and say, hey, I can get you in front of all these people, come down here, provide your scotch and we'll do like a tasting. And that's kind of how this is. It's called Whiskey Wednesday. And they get all these different like distributors and people with their whiskey giving them to them. You can reach out to Standard Beverage, probably get the same thing. And then they invite their prospects and they invite their clients and they say, +1. So like, instead of saying bring a friend, they say it's like you +1. So now it feels more like exclusive, that, okay, I only get to bring one person. And I think that really works for them. Oh, and they have a lead capture and so you get like raffle tickets because they give away a bottle of whiskey, like a high-end whiskey. So you get a raffle ticket. So now they have your company name, and your email address. It's freaking brilliant.
Love it. And this is a third-party company that does it all for you?
Oh, no, I haven't done it yet. This is a friend of mine that is doing it, and I am going to steal the idea.
Yes, steal away, swipe away. I love it. Well, Matt, a lot of ideas out there. I'm literally writing down ideas like right here as we go through, and we'll kind of chat about that. But what are some ways, Matt, that you've used MDF, or some creative ways that you've heard your peers using other people's money?
So back in the days, we're going back a little bit. I know I reached out to, and don't be afraid to reach out to the big guys. You might think that some of the bigger companies won't give you that MDF money. They have that money too. So for example, back in the day prior to Windows 7 launch, and I did a Windows 7 launch event, I reached out to HP. HP sent a slew of staff, some of their technical engineers, some of their Microsoft specialists. They donated some equipment for giveaways. So they came on site. We basically did in-house event for a Windows 7 event. So they paid for their people to come down. They covered all their hotel and stuff like that, all the marketing materials we handed out, giveaways, where we gave away, I believe, a computer and a laptop. with Windows 7 on it, of course. And then we were able to follow up. Now, the bad thing with the big guy back then was they wanted a list of all your attendees. So they were basically going to do some marketing to your list after you got it. So that is one downside, but things have changed since then. We've also used HP in the past to get our name out a little bit. We tried radio for a while, and they were willing to pay for some of the radio advertising, as well as we ran a contest to help some of the schools out here and some of the kids in some of the areas. So what we did is we asked with the radio station to announce and promote this. So they gave us a discount as well, because we were doing this to help the kids out, is write an essay on how technology would help you do better in school. So we got, I think, like 120 some odd kids to write in essays to the radio station. And between the radio station and myself, we read through them all and we picked a winner, and we did a giveaway that HP gave us a laptop for this student to help them with their education and their schooling. So it was just another little creative way to get our name out there and do some stuff without it being around anything particular, but it really helped get our name out there in the community.
Yeah, that's super creative. And just doing that one piece right there, this, involvement with the school and the radio, getting the essay, giving away a laptop, like, I'm sure you weren't just done there. There's a whole PR opportunity around that too. I'm sure you let your clients know what you were doing. I'm sure you put it in your newsletter. I'm sure you're able to send out, emails to your prospect list, saying that you were doing it. And so it's not just you did it and then you told people about it, right?
Correct. Yeah. Make sure you're taking pictures at the different events, share it. Like the Windows 7 launch event back then, the newspaper was there. We invited some of the local media companies out so they could be there as well and take pictures and write some articles for you. So yeah, make sure you do that. We recently did with the Small Business Tech Day event that we did. Some of the MDF came directly. You guys arranged that. Tanya, thank you very much. But I wasn't even afraid to reach back out. I mean, we've said it a couple times, all of us, but Datto gave some money initially for it, but I reached back out to Datto. I said, hey, I know you guys know we're doing this, but I want one of your guys, I want you to speak at the event. And then how about throwing in some additional MDF? And they threw in additional MDF. So they basically doubled what was given. So don't think that you can't ask more than once, if you will. If the event grows and gets bigger, you maybe get some local partners. You're like, hey, I was thinking of doing this, and now my local bank, my local chamber got involved, and holy cow, this thing just doubled or tripled in size. Would you mind kicking in some extra? Don't be afraid to go back maybe and ask a little bit differently.
Yeah, I'll say it again. If you don't ask, you're not going to get it, right?
Absolutely.
And think about it too, the more you ask, even if you get like a, no, we don't have any, or no, you can't use it for that. The more you ask, I mean, you're marketing to your sponsors and your vendors. So when they do have money, who do you think they're going to go to? They're going to go to Matt. Hey, I know we've been talking for a couple months and you've been saying, hey, I want to get you guys involved. I want to get some MDF. Okay, I've got money now. What do you want to do, Matt? So, you're doing marketing and doing that relationship building with your vendors too. That reminded me, another couple ideas, potentially for people to add to their swipe file, referrals. So we just did a survey, with you guys, with our industry, what's the number one, lead generation source and the best kind of leads that you get. It's referrals over and over and over again. We were not surprised. But one thing that I had done was I went to one of my vendors. I don't remember if it was an HP or something, someone who did, kind of like some end user technology, like HP and a laptop. I think it was actually like back when HP was doing ThinkPads or something. But I went to them and I said, I want to run a referral contest. Can you donate, the referral prize, which again, I think it was a ThinkPad or a laptop or something. And so be thinking about that too. Like, hey, I want to get more referrals. Instead of having to pay for the prize, a TV or an iPad, whatever it may be, get a little prize package from your vendors. Maybe it's a laptop and a ThinkPad, and I don't know, maybe they'll throw in something that isn't even theirs, like some Beats headphones or something, but go to them and get that prize, from them and get it paid for. So always kind of be thinking about like, what are some ways that I could get, my vendors or my sponsors involved, and doing, a referral campaign and getting the prize covered. Easy. And those are the best kind of leads, right? I know we've been talking about events, and I saw, I don't remember, it wasn't the question here. Coleman, I see your question. Have any of the panelists used MDF with local Chamber of Commerce events? And so, I know just in talking with some peers, Dan Tomaszewski, who's now, at Kaseya, he used MDF a lot for golf tournaments and for sponsorships. And so these associations, these chambers, as you know, they're always putting on events for their members, using it for sponsorship. If we sponsor this golf tournament, or if we sponsor this, symposium, we've got a booth, we'll put some branding up there, for the vendor. So I'll ask my panelists, have any of you, or do you know of anybody who has used MDF for, Coleman specifically asked about chamber or associations or those types of groups? Wayne,
Yeah, I
hand
have.
raised, yep.
Done it with chambers several times. The biggest thing about chambers is before you do it with your chamber, get involved and learn about the community in the chamber. Okay. Because, I've joined many chambers, and some chambers in the makeup of the community in that chamber, you may have to approach differently than you would in another chamber. Okay. Because businesses and the level of businesses that attend them really vary from chamber to chamber. So I would recommend getting involved first, learn it, so then you can understand what kind of plan you want to put to it, then get the money for it. That would be my biggest recommendation. I tried to treat, first time I went to chamber, do it like everything else I ever did. It was a big waste of money because the audience wasn't right. And I didn't know that because I just went in blindly and did it. And I learned from that mistake. So first get involved, learn, audience, then plan it. You'll get the money, go do it.
Yeah. Brennis, it looked like you were maybe want to chime in on the association or the chamber or the getting sponsorships for covered by MDF.
So, I would say that what we have done as far as the chamber is, not use like MDF from a vendor to do something for the chamber, but more so like get yourself a JV partner from the chamber. So an insurance agent, a bank, a CPA firm is another one, so that you can partner with them. Now you have their list, your list. Now I'm going to get money because I have a bigger list and it's local. Another thing is like actually utilizing the little businesses to give you, and swag, by the way, I should have said that. I always get swag, always ask for swag. It's so easy. They're going to give it to you. You have giveaways. But what I would also do, especially with people in the chamber, is if you're doing a local event, whether it is a contest that you're running and you want to have some amazing prize, or you're doing something that's in person. If it's in person, I'm potentially going to be looking for someone within the chamber, if I can, to utilize and get stuff from them to do as giveaways, because everybody wants business. Hotels, local hotels will give you like a free 1 night or 2 night stay. And I realize this isn't like vendor, like for getting that from a vendor, but it's still stuff that you can get for free. That's going to be, that you can do as a giveaway. And now you're going to have more people probably attend, because the better things that you're giving away, the more people are going to be like, okay, I want a chance to win that. So like beauty salons and spas and hotels, restaurants, even, you can utilize your local events and your local businesses. They want business too. They want word of mouth too. And then JV partner up to get in front of somebody who both prospects, like their clients, your clients, it could be beneficial to both. So like your CPA firms, your insurance agents, and banks.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, I know it is a little bit like, okay, well, I know we're getting JVs, but yeah, be thinking about that too, like struggling to get people on your webinars. Okay, go to a local spa and get a $100 gift card from them, do a little promo. They'd be all in for it. You're going to get more people on that webinar if they might get a spa, even if it's, I'm going to give it to my wife, I'm going to give it to my girlfriend, but be thinking about how you can utilize those partnerships too. I did get MDF, back when I was at the MSP for association involvement. So we were focused on the legal industry. We were heavily involved in the Association of Legal Administrators. That was where kind of our best leads came from. And we sponsored their events, whether it was, a booze cruise on the water or a golf tournament or some type of, networking event. And so I would get dollars for that. The one thing to keep in mind, my experience was, sometimes these sponsorships are a little bit more expensive to do some associations. Sometimes it's over, 10 grand, and it is a big chunk of money. So it may not have been that the MDF covered 100% of it, but maybe they covered half of it or 70% of it, or even just 10%. Hey, here's $1,000. So keep that in mind too. Like you may not get 100% of it covered, but if you could get half of it covered, would you still do it? And again, be thinking about, when you talked about the beginning, and I'm tiptoeing into our next session, which is like how to actually get it. But, what do they want out of it? Is it just, brand exposure and some signage at the event? Is it the list, Matt, that you had mentioned? Okay, let's make sure we're getting our opt-ins and working with our vendor in order to do the follow-up. But I have been able to get, money for that. Other things, I've heard of people getting MDF and using it for your newsletter. So I had a vendor who I was like, hey, I'll give you a little ad in the corner of my print newsletter. Will you give me, $1,000 a month or whatever for it? They said, yeah, sure. So now my newsletter's free. I've given a little ad, and now my newsletter is free. I think it came up last time, and Tanya, I may have dreamed this or not, I don't remember, but I think I remember someone saying that they were just starting out. Like, I'm a startup, like I'm trying to get going. I don't have anybody on my list to invite to a webinar. I don't have anybody, to do a whiskey tasting with, to send a newsletter to do a referral contest to. And I believe one of the vendors said, let us help you. Like, let's come up with ways that we can help you build a list. Is there something that we can do together to get you these contacts? Do you remember anything from that, Tanya?
Yeah, definitely. That was, I think all of the panel talked a little bit about it, but specifically QuickPass was talking about, if you don't know where to start, come to us. Talk to us about it. Even if you're you just started with us as a partner, or you're thinking to start with us as a partner, come to us. We'll help you. We'll take on the heavy lifting, get you some different ads that you can run through LinkedIn, doing some things that are specific on Facebook, helping you really generate that list for you, and really helping you get those right fit people that you want on your webinar. And then, by the way, we'll do the landing page, and we'll do this piece, and just give you the content. There's content. These vendors have so much content they want to share. It's funny that our panelists today, the MSP, said, hey, just ask. That's the exact same thing that the vendor said last week or last month. Just ask. Like, there's a ton of content, and if it's not something they have right now, they'll create it for you. They'll come up with it. And I'm not talking about just the big guys. I'm talking about the ones that are these somewhat startup, cybersecurity companies. We saw ones that will give you seed money. They're like, we just want to give you, we want to give you money. It needs to be mutually beneficial, right? So like you were saying, Allison, it can't just always be free. But they'll do a lot. So if you're starting out and you don't know where to start and you don't have a list, talk to them. They'll help you. They'll help you get creative on what to do with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love your question. I just thought if you had a bottomless pit of marketing money, what's the one thing you would do? Kim, I love it. Rent out a Topgolf. I think one of the vendors actually specifically mentioned on the last one, like, we love to pay for Topgolf. Like, if you want to do an event at Topgolf, like, let us know. We're in.
Yeah, that's a great example of it, because each one of those locations has a little bit of a meeting room. You can go in there, actually talk. They were talking about you're going to want, at least half of your current clients, if not 2/3, to come with your prospects. It's just a really good time. You can do some education and at the same time have a really good event with it. So yeah, they like Topgolf for sure. And we do have some questions, Allison, that have come up.
Yeah, I've seen them right there. There was one thing that Matt said that I just want to make sure we tie a nice little bow on. And Tanya, I think I'm probably going to get your input on it too. Because Matt, you mentioned Small Business Tech Day and how Tanya had actually helped you get money, so you didn't even have to do all the heavy lifting. That piqued my interest. Is like, okay, that sounds easy. Like, can you tell me more about that?
So one of the things that Tanya got prearranged with Small Business Tech Day was if you were a Datto partner, you automatically got a certain amount off of the package deal. So that was already prearranged. Tanya went out and did all the heavy lifting and twisted arms or whatever she did. Probably a bottle of booze, if I had to guess, of some kind. But she got that done for us. So it just made it super easy. It was kind of a no-brainer. And I know a lot of people are like, do I do an event? If I can get it paid for, I'll do an event. If I can't get it paid for, I won't do an event. That's not really a reason to do an event. Again, you're trying to market yourself. You're trying to get out there. So kind of like you said earlier, that extra MDF fund, whether it pays for all of it or some of it, it's kind of, icing on the cake, if you will. It just helps offset those costs. So maybe you can go, rather than trying to market to 2,000 people, hey, maybe now, oh, I got extra money. Okay, I'm going to expand that out to 3,000 people. So I'm going to send more postcards. I'm going to have my caller do more. Maybe I'm going to get another part-time temp to help me out with calling for some additional people. So yeah, don't let the MDF hold you back, but definitely, as we've all said multiple times, ask for it.
Yeah. So Tanya, you're getting money for our MSPs now.
We're trying, definitely.
Yeah, what's Small Business Tech Day and what, who should do it? Like, how did you get money for these people?
Yeah, so Small Biz Tech Day is also another piece that Big Red Media is putting on. It is a one-day event that has a lot of different facets with it. So it's a full year marketing that goes along with it. Really gives you that authority piece. You get to be virtually on stage with Robert Herschbeck this year. So that's going to be the new one. And you get to engage with your current clients, your community. We do stuff with your chambers, help you get through that. And we are putting together a pretty hefty list of opportunity for you to get MDF. So definitely let us know if you're interested. It's November 16th, but we're kicking it off in a couple weeks.
Cool. I mean, yeah, I guess TMT, we're kind of one of your vendors too. I mean, we're your partners. We work with you, but different, things that we can provide to help you do marketing, I guess Small Business Tech Day, we can help get, some funding for that too. So if you're, like Matt, like Matt had said, if you, aren't sure how to do an event, don't know how to do an event, don't want to get into like putting on an event, like come to us at TMT, hey, can you help us put on this event? And what money have you already pre-negotiated with some of our vendors to get it paid for? So super cool idea there. I know we do have some questions, so I heard that and I was like, I can't let that go. So some of these questions here. So Tanya, what do we have as far as questions?
So, Maurice, I'm going to come back to yours, but let's start with Mark. He said last session, it was mentioned that the vendors don't necessarily have to promote or be promoted in the events, webinars, etc. Do they, or do you guys do it? I think you probably do it both ways.
We do it. We do both. It depends. So, and I don't honestly know the answer to this. You all might, but I don't know if sponsorship is the same as like MDF in the eyes of a vendor, and it may be like depends on, that may be subjective, because what I found, even for Small Business Tech Day, when I was asking for MDF, some of the, straight up, those are the letters I used. Some of the vendors were like, oh yeah, here you go. Like easy peasy, they didn't even want anything. Whereas a few others were like, well, let me see what you're offering sponsors. And then they actually chose to go that route instead of just give you money for MDF. They wanted to do like a full package of one of the tiers that I had, because I did, we tiered it out. Mm-hmm. And so, and that's because they wanted the registration list. So it could be that if they're not like specifically channel only and they want that list, like you're gonna make them pay for it every single time. They have to pay like way more for that. So kind of both. I think it's going to depend on the vendor, but the more they want, I feel like the more they need to give. So if you're asking for it and they're giving you like $500 and they're wanting all this, it'd be like, no, it doesn't work that way. So if you come with a plan and an idea, whatever you're selling, you have it all plotted out, and you have your target audience, you have your expectations, even a potential ROI, and even better, if you have some case studies and examples to use to show that you've been successful in the past, ask for more. Like I would say always shoot high. I would rather shoot high and have far more than I ever asked for, then aim low and then come up short. Shoot high every time.
Mhm. Yeah. Any of our panelists, have you ever worked with like, does the sponsor, does the vendor, do they always require some sort of promotion, or have you ever just gotten money? I mean, I know we talked, small business tech that they just gave it, but I want to hear, your answers on that too for Mark.
Yeah, so for me, I mean, sometimes they ask for that, and other times it's not a requirement. I mean, like even that radio giveaway with the kids that we did, I would mention that it's an HP laptop that we're giving away, but that wasn't part of the deal with HP.
Mm-hmm.
I'll kind of go back with, I agree with Brandis, because one of the things is when you talk about industry specific, I do a lot of financial services, and I do a lot of banking. There's 4 main banking conferences I do every year. And one of my vendors that has some unique technology for the banking industry, they wanted to go with us. Well, I saw that as an opportunity and saying, okay, here's MDF for this, you can just come in. But if you want to have your CEO or your chief technology come with me, because I get a speaking engagement every one of them, you want to go in as a speaking engagement with us, then I want you to fund all 4 of my events. They funded all 4. That's hotel, travel, booth, everything. So you're talking about around 25 grand a year. And this is their 3rd year doing it with me. So like Brandon said, ask for the moon. I mean, you come into it, and that tiered approach she's talking about, you should use that, because it's like anything else. It's like what we sell to our clients. Think about it. We give them a tiered approach. They want more value. They pay more for that value. Same thing from the vendors. I think that's an awesome idea.
Yeah, I love it. Tanya, do we have any more questions that kind of came in?
Yeah, anyone ever use MDF to help with sales or marketing staff?
Good
Yes.
question.
Back in the day, like Matt will know this. Back in the day, HP, they had a program, and it was going their MDF. They funded a sales rep, $60,000 sales rep for my staff. And we had to do the prerequisite is coming into this, have a plan, and you had to meet a certain sales goal to it. So that was probably the biggest thing I ever got one of my vendors to do. But that's one of the things you look at. Be aware of what their programs are. They don't always tell you about some of the higher value programs. Dig into it. You'll find that sometimes you can get a little gold nugget like that in that year. That's what we broke in. We'd only been a partner for about 6 months, but we'd sold a few decent deals, and they go do it. So that's one of the things where you can actually use that money. That was for sales and coming into that. So that's how one of those things we did.
Yeah. Any of our other panelists, have you, I think the question was, have you ever used MDF for sales or marketing people? No.
No, not to buy. I mean, I've used it to cover labor like all over the place. Absolutely. But not to actually go out and hire someone.
Mhm.
And obviously I'm the baby in this group because Wayne, said Matt would know all about that, but
It's a compliment. It's a compliment. Yeah, I do, from our MDF guide, I do remember a handful of our vendors who did say that they would help you with, some sales or marketing or appointment setting, some type of commission or some type of, helping with those people. So if you haven't gotten the guide yet, I've got a slide here in a few minutes. I'll kind of show you how to get it, but grab that guide if that's specifically what you're looking for, and look for those vendors who can help support you. And then again, echoing what everybody's been saying, just ask, just ask.
Mhm.
Tanya, do we have any more questions that we want to make sure we get
Yeah,
to?
we have one last one. Maurice had asked, if Loves Data wanted to know if they've seen a change since Kaseya purchased them. I'll start that off, and then if anybody else wants to chime in with it. One thing I will tell you, because we see this in the landscape a lot right now, where people are getting purchased. Obviously, the biggest one is Data to Kaseya, right? But this is happening all the time. And I will tell you, just like in this scenario, if it's a solid MDF program, they the company that purchases that company typically doubles down on it, just like what Kaseya has done. They have taken, it's the Datto, Jason Price that was running it, you know, when it was Datto was running it now when it's Kaseya, and they've actually, what he said is that they've doubled, tripled the money that they have, and have doubled and tripled the resources. So anybody else want to chime into that? Because again, I think this is happening a lot, not just with Datto, but.
I've got my Kaseya up calling me all the time to give me money. So
Love
Love it.
that's to come in. That's in his normal cadence with me, talking about what's going on. We have a cadence every month. There's a question about MDF and what we want to go off and do. So Datto was very good at it as well in the cadence we had, but you can tell there's a concerted effort on Kaseya's part, especially to the Datto partner community, that they want to make sure they take care of us because they don't want us leaving. That's my opinion, but they are actually doing it. So we're seeing that effort by them increasing that staff. At least I am. I don't know what anybody else is, but I know we are.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know. I've known Dan since he was an MSP over there now
Yep.
at Kaseya, and you know, boot camp coming up. So my advice to everybody on the call is get to know the vendors, i.e. your partners, because as soon as you write them a check, they become a partner. It needs to be a two-way street. And a lot of them will treat it that way. One of the good things that came out of the Kaseya Datto merger is now all the licensing that you're buying, that's a bigger pool of money. So when they look at you, you're no longer maybe a smaller size, right? Now, all of a sudden you just doubled in size as far as their revenue is concerned. So they're going to be willing to double the size of their MDF that they're giving you as well. So get to know the guys out in the booth, especially at boot camp, because a lot of the bigwigs are going to be there. The VPs and everything else. Jason's awesome. Dan's awesome over there at Kaseya and Datto. Get to know them, get a relationship, not just asking them for a check all the time. Just get to know them. They're good people, and they'll really give you a lot of good advice for your business.
Yeah.
I second both of those. And I would also say, like, you know, when I was talking about doing the monthly cadence, do those. Like when your partners are reaching out to you, when your vendors are reaching out to you to just meet up and chat, do that. Let them have, like, build that relationship, because then it's a lot easier to go back and ask for money.
Exactly. Yeah. And I know we're a couple minutes over. And so that's a great actually segue kind of into what our final session is going to be in this MDR or MDF webinar series. So we started off, you know, hearing from some vendors and from sponsors, what is MDF? What are the types of programs that are out there? I hope you have a page full of notes today of things in your swipe file of some different things that you could use MDF for. And like Tanya asked, if you had a bottomless pit of money, what would you use it for? Like, get creative, because it may not be bottomless, but it's a pretty big pot of money that you can go to dip from. And our final one will be, you know, we kind of ended with a couple little tidbits and hints and best practices. We're going to spend an entire webinar, you know, next month on the 27th of April, kind of talking about, okay, now how do you get the money? What are these tips, you know, that some vendors have? You know, get to know, or vendors and MSPs, get to know your vendors, build that relationship, you know, come up with a plan. Like, you know, Wayne said, like, go into it thinking, what do they want to get out of it? We're really going to dive into that on our next one. So make sure you attend that. If you've registered for one of our 3-part series, you're registered for all of them. So hopefully it is on your calendar. You can go back and watch the previous sessions as well. I told you I'd get you that guide for that link, or that link for the guide, mspsuccessmagazine.com/MDF guide. We are constantly adding to that. And so we want to have page upon page upon page of this guide for you, again, to consolidate all of the different, you know, programs, the MDF programs that are out there. So if you see a vendor either that you want to work with or that you are working with who isn't listed, let us know. I've got the email up there, info@mspsuccessmagazine.com. We'll get in touch with the vendor, find out all the information about their program, and put it in the guide for you and let you know about it. So thank you to our panelists, Wayne, Matt, Brandis. Thank you so much for being on here today. Such great ideas. Tanya, thank you for bringing your own insight, for helping us to moderate. I know you are on the pulse of what's going on with our vendor community. And so being able to kind of give that insight there, I really appreciate it. I hope this was helpful for you. Go ahead, type into the chat if you enjoyed it, if you got some value from it. If you got at least one good idea from it. We'd love to hear your feedback. You know, we had some great feedback from our first one. Hopefully we're continuing with that momentum. I appreciate everybody for being here today. I hope to see you all at boot camp. Come by, say hi to us. If not, we'll see you on our next webinar. Thank you, everybody. And now go get that MDF money that's out there. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys for doing this. Bye, Wayne. Have some more drinks on us.
All right.
Bye.